Welcome to Crossing Darkness, a podcast about role-playing games ranging from the world of darkness to MMORPGs like EVE Online and everything in between. We broadcast live over Twitch and are open to answering questions during the show. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite video games, EVE Online, a spaceship science fiction MMORPG. In this game you can become an immortal pod pilot who can control some of the most powerful ships in all of the galaxy. Activities include market manipulation, spaceship combat, PvP and PvE, mining, exploration, empire building, pirating, and much, much more. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout. Today we have a very special guest, Syndraken, who is from the Goonswarm Alliance. How's space treating you these days, Syndraken?
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on here. So how'd you get involved in EVE Online?
Was just looking around, playing Cable of Space program, and Scott Manley had a few videos on EVE Online. That's how I first stumbled upon it, and I found it pretty fascinating, the economy and the stories all around it. So I just gave it a try and I got stuck.
Yeah, so what was some of the first things that you did when you joined up with EVE Online?
Well, first, running around doing missions and stuff didn't captivate me that much. And I fortunately made the decision to join a corp, and they did a lot of fleets, just Tristan's, anchor your drones on the FC and let him do the stuff. But it was perfect for new bro like myself. I didn't understand what was happening, but killmails flashing up, it was a hell lot of fun. So that's how I got interested in PvP and basically stuck with this. Moving to Nulltech pretty early on to make more money, because I don't like spending too much money on Plex and buying stuff. Just want to do it in-game.
Yeah, so you're more focused on like the PvP aspect of the game.
Yes.
So you jumped out pretty soon, you said out to 0.0. What was the first region of 0.0 that you went out to?
First experience in Mosaic was joining a little corp in Cloud Ring. Just as they were being evicted, we were crashing on their couch. So that was a glorious fail, but also a lot of fun. Like battling it out and fighting over your stuff and losing everything and running away in the middle of the night, getting the rest of your assets. It was kind of hilarious. From there we went a little bit around Losec here and there, and then Great Wildlands. Living in NPC, like bashing a lot of structures, dropping in super capitals with no sexual open. That was a lot of fun. And from there we got into soft nullsec, kind of getting a little bit of the ISK rolling and such. That didn't last too long, and from there we joined first Legacy and then later the Imperium, and that's how I got to Goons.
Awesome. So yeah, tell us about your experience joining up with one of the big giant Nullsec Alliance. What was your first experience with one of the bigger giant Nullsec blocks? You said was Legacy. What was your experience kind of joining up with Legacy?
Well, Legacy was kind of funny. Like, that was around the time where CCP grandfathered out the old NP player-owned stations in Nullsec for Faction 4 Disasters.
Okay, yep.
I got to join Legacy's deployment to Providence, and basically just dunking on these people there and shitting on them and taking away their Faction 4 Disasters. And shortly after that, then NC kind of invaded the Legacy space, and we didn't fight back at all. It was boring. We were told not to give them content, and under no circumstances drop any capitals and such. And yeah, we were pretty happy about the opportunity when Imperium then had Legacy Blue. We used that to kind of move over there, and it was pretty liberating, to say the least.
So you felt like a big difference. Did you see like a difference in the IT infrastructure as well? Because I know Goons have like an epic IT structure, and what they kind of have for their backbone seems to be extremely impressive. So I've never done anything with Legacy. What kind of overall just kind of comparison did you feel like there was a huge difference between the two when it came to the backbone infrastructures that they have?
Like the way you join squads and stuff that didn't even properly exist in Legacy. Like there was a website for gathering peps, and that didn't work half of it. And yeah, in comparison, Goonswarm, they have their shit sorted out. Like the communication backbone is.
So for reference, though, what year was this in?
It was actually 2 years ago, just about.
Okay, so what have you been up to since you joined Goonswarm? So you joined up with was this like a player corporation that you'd been hanging out with, and they joined up, and that's how you guys got into Goons?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We got settled in one of the border regions, like where a lot of the content is flowing in and out of the regions. So I got pretty good making ISK with a bunch of Myrmidon alts and then just baiting fights out of that. Yeah, generally small gang PvP around the area. A couple of wormhole evictions, what we did, roaming around. The usual stuff. It was pretty peaceful.
Nice. And then from there, did you stay with that? Are you still with that corporation right now, or did you end up with another corporation within Goons?
Chemicals, by the end of the last year, they decided to move to Wormhole. I gave that a shot and didn't enjoy it at all. So I ran back to Goons. Now part of AMOC, and I love it here. It's a really great corporation.
Nice. So what are some of the activities that you are partaking in right now? Are you doing any kind of fleet commanding, or are you, just kind of going out on all the different kind of PvP fleets? Do you participate in any other activities that are happening? I know that there's a huge war that's going on right now. What part are you kind of taking in all of this?
Well, part of it is, of course, the big fleets. When something is going down, then everyone kind of has to do their part. But mostly I'm interested in small game PvP, and I keep doing that. Like, just going out from NPC no space to all the regions that are occupied by little test corporations, and they kind of don't have the infrastructure to really defend that. So maybe you get really small gangs, sometimes they have no help at all. Sometimes you just shoot an Unziplex or something and bait out a little bit bigger fleet, depending on what your own numbers is. So it's really easy to get kind of the content that you is looking for. You can just create it.
Absolutely. So when you say small fleets, I mean that can kind of vary depending on what would you say like the average fleet that you would fly in would be, or the fleet that you like to fly in.
Like my favorite setup is like 5 guys, no more. Like you can talk to people and coordinate, and everyone is flying and like being efficient as a pilot. I don't like to have to think for everything that every single pilot has to do. That just isn't my style of fighting.
Nice. So do you have any cool stories about one of these little trips that you've done with like a 5-man group? A little treat for us to kind of get what kind of happened to you in the I Was There in Eve.
Tons of stories. Like it's the little things, like going for a little ESS when they are trying to keep their ADMs up, and 5 battleships come in one by one, and you just shoot them down. Or stuff like this. Or yeah, like the other day I got a notification for a Poco that was being shot from AMO. And I just went there and was a handful of bombers. So yeah, let's get the Harbinger and snipe a few. Let's get the assault frigate and shoot a few. And it was so annoying that like 10 guys ended up standing down because I was just so annoying with my shit.
Wow, so that was solo. You just kind of went out there and just kind of messed with them in order to kind of force them to.
Yeah, I mean, torpedoes don't really apply to a frigate, so that was easy to go in. And yeah, just. Sometimes it's easy to counter something. Like torpedo bombers aren't that hard.
Yeah, it's interesting when your objective is to kind of push somebody away from you. It's a big difference, in how how you can kind of play in EVE Online, versus trying to get a fight versus trying to kill something. Um, all of these kind of things factor in, and it is interesting how, there's a, 5-man group that wants to try and destroy a structure, and the setup that they have, is vulnerable, not necessarily to getting killed by, but being, if they're not going to be able to complete their objective if they're, if you fit like a ship, one ship just that's designed to mess with them.
And I have another funny story that happened just 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Like, they were shooting a little Astra Hus structure timer, and we had some kitchen sink formed up. Already seven guys and a few outs, something like that. And they were hesitating to even go in, but then they came with Drekavax and Zarmast and Astarte and stuff like this. And we decided, okay, if we can just push them off for a minute, then we get this timer, and it's totally worth whelping into that. But we went on top of them, and they walked away. So we killed the first Drekavac, and then they walked back just to get the timer stopped again. And they didn't focus fire on anything, like an entire wing of Drekavacs, 5, 6 of them, and 2 command ships died for a little kitchen sink. That was just ridiculous.
Focus fire, man. Focus fire is so important, man. It's like in this game, if you can't focus your fire, like it's just the end. Like, it's so rough. Were they just out of range, or were they really just shooting everybody?
They were right on top of 0 of the structure, afterburner stuff, and like a comp made to tank whatever you're throwing at them while they shoot the Astros. And we just had too much close range damage right on top of them to actually tank this. So they broke apart, and they didn't know how to react and died.
Yep, when things start falling apart, you gotta be careful in those kind of things.
My Vex Aviation made it out in 10% structure.
Thank you for the follow, McNair. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's definitely lots of really good kind of like things that you can kind of do out there. So do you a lot of the activities that you're partaking in, with these 5-man gangs, do you do any kind of the ESI, like going around and stealing with the new mechanics that are behind that?
When the opportunity is there, which kind of happens, the whole test corporation's trying to keep the ADMs up, so it pops up here and there.
Yeah,
kind of. It depends. When they want to react, then they can just bring battleships or anything. Really, anything they do can easily counter, but they often don't. And sometimes we have the numbers, and we can set up a trap.
Yeah, have you had the ability to use that as like a fight opportunity, or do you see it much more as like an ISK-making opportunity and harassment type tactic? Because I find that you can
mostly about harassment, really. Like, there's no reason to have a good fight in one of these things. As a defender, you can just descan whatever's happening, and you know what to bring, in theory at least. I mean, I've seen some fuck-ups on the test set trying to do that, but usually it shouldn't happen. Like, yeah. And then on the other side, if you have 10 guys in just heavy DPS, close range ship, anything that lands on the gate dies immediately. You can't really fleet walk there, so the coordination is hard not to land there one by one.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on the situation. But it's not a very interesting fight producing thing in my eyes.
So what do you think are the most interesting things that create fights for you? What are the things that you believe make the game because it sounds like you have a very objective based kind of gameplay style, that you go out and you try and achieve an objective. What are the things that you found EVE Online has brought to the table that really gets you out there and doing stuff in space?
I like really, when I thinking back on my Myrmidon-holds, it was always fun to just have them there making a little bit of this, and then something shows up. Maybe it's a solo hunter, maybe it's a Sino, maybe it's a 5-man gang or whatever. And for one, that really taught me a lot of fighting, like reacting to them by myself solo against multiple people. You learn a lot how to do it, and it's a good way of creating content. Like the people that are flying around hunting, they don't want to engage in PvP ships. They're here to kill some crabs and get away alive. And yeah, kind of playing off that, knowing what the enemy wants to do and kind of exploiting it and turning it around, and yeah, sometimes getting really nice kills for it. And on an open grid in nullsec, anything can happen. You can use bubbles, you can use any weapon system, you can have a dreadnought showing up out of nowhere. So yeah, gloves off, no compromise, no playing around.
Yeah, definitely. 0.0 has the ability with Sinos and just everybody being able to come in. Depending, and then you have Sino jammers, depending on if you have, which part of sovereignty space that
covered Sino always works.
But yeah, then you've got the counter.
Yeah.
Yep, nice counter plays that you can do with that. So do you do a lot of like stealth bomber type? Have you done any kind of like stealth bomber drops and stuff like that using the covert op Sino in order to get around behind enemy lines?
I mean, it's a useful tool. Personally, I don't like sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. So yeah, but I'll use it. It's a useful tool. Like, we do have a lot of people out in hunting ships looking where there's targets for one, and yeah, if it's like a mining fleet or like 5 Vexels doing the same site just to keep the ADMs up, and can be useful to show up out of nothing with the right tool to kill whatever is the target. Capitals, obviously.
Yep. So what are some of the things that you think might improve EVE Online, or some of the things that you think EVE Online does really well to kind of like bring you to this game, or what do you kind of see in the future of EVE Online? And also, kind of included in that, what do you think of the upcoming patch that's coming out, the industry change?
Oh, I hate it. Like, I don't like doing industry to begin with. No, it's just even more complicated and stuff. I just want to pew. Yeah.
Yeah, the changing on the market and stuff like that it can be rough with and then I imagine people that are involved in it, there's a big change for them and how they have to do stuff. But there's opportunity definitely out there. I'm interested to see kind of how it all plays out. The economic shakeup in EVE Online is something I've always found to be really interesting. But yeah, from a PvPer's point of view, it's just I just want to get my ships truthfully, to so.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, looking at it, kind of looking like everything's gonna get more expensive. Battleships, especially, I don't like the state battleships. I love my battleships, but yeah, they got hit more hard.
Yeah, I do like the frigate bay that they added to the battleship. Definitely enjoy that kind of like addition to the game. But yeah, it's is there anything that you'd like to see change in EVE Online?
Yeah, more resistances to battleships.
More resistances to battleships. I agree with that.
Yeah, they're so slow. They don't have any damage mitigation. They just need more resistances, not some hit points slapped on top. Just resistances.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a big help to them, make them more of a staying power, and you gotta really pound on them in order to bring them down.
I mean, the most effective thing a ship can have in EVE is speed. If you have speed, you can control range, you can get away, and so on. Battleships don't have that. If they have staying power instead and the resistance to easily be tanked and eat a lot of damage, then they can have a role like staying somewhere, keeping a position, and being a little fortress in space.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view because yeah, it's totally true. Like range, being able to control range in the game is huge. You know, in fleet fights and single player combat alike. You know, if I'm in a brawling ship and I get into a fight with a kiter and I'm in an afterburner and they're in a micro warp drive, that's it. You know, there's nothing that I can really do if I'm in
my most used ship is the Vexor Navy issue. It's a bit on the slow side, but super tanky. So that's kind of the trade-off. The Vexor Navy issue can survive a lot of shit that a battleship couldn't, because I can still pull some range with the Vexor Navy issue.
Yes, and yeah, and the drones on a Vexor Navy issue as well can really help out with keeping damage on at a range if you're doing solo or small gang type opportunities. Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because I do a lot of like frigate based combat right now, and I do like the concepts more of going into, or I need to start doing, and I want to do more of like cruiser based solo combat and try and mess around with that, because I like the idea of being able to still kind of brawl at like 10-15 kilometers. We're brawling with a lot of the frigates I've been using, like the Atron is I really need to be in with it like 3 kilometers in order to really get a good fight going.
Yeah, like frigates sometimes, like an NU or something like that. It's nice. Or just a 5k stiletto for this kind of stuff.
I do like going out in little frigate, like you know, we just recently had a 3v3 that I was involved in, where it was like you know, we were just checking out plexes. There was I think it was a Tristan, a Merlin, and an Atron, I want to say, that were inside of a plex, and we didn't know whether they were fighting each other or whether they were, you know, together or not. So we went inside. There was 3 of us. I had a Cure, and then we had 2 Atrons. And, you know, it was a really fun battle. You know, of course, they focused down on me, and they were able to delete my Cure, you know, but I was able to hold out long enough in order for us to wipe the field and hold the field and take, you know, so it was a pretty even fight. It felt really good because, you know, when I went down, I was, you know, I got to sit there and still watch in my pod, and I'm like, oh, that guy popped, and now this guy's just slowly popping. It's like, ah, such a, you know, beautiful feeling when you get, you know, like a nice solid 3v3 fight going on. And in the end, it was really kind of even on the ISK payout, because we got to hold the field, which we got to loot some of the stuff. They had, one of their ships had a little bit of an expensive module on it, and they got to take down a Cure, which, you know, is a faction pirate frigate, and that makes it, you know, makes it up for them. I'm sure they were pretty happy coming out of that fight, and we were ecstatic about it. So so do you get, have you had do you do, or are you have you had any experiences with like pretty even close-up fights, or are you mostly trying to like make sure that your gang is dominating the field? Did I lose you?
Oh, sorry. Wrong push talk. Even fights. Yeah, no, I like to just engage anything that gets in front of me. And yeah, often enough it gets me killed, but often enough I get a really interesting fight out of it. Like, just the other day I went for a Gila in my VNI. I didn't quite expect that to work out, but it did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And yeah, I kinda rather take a chance than lose a chance to get a good fight.
Yeah, I'm a big frequenter of Tama, and I am a big frequenter of losing my ship multiple times over and over again to Sir Yag. or other elite PvPers that are out there, but I always enjoy just taking a good fight. So this Gila fight that you had, what was the breakdown of what kind of happened there?
Well, it was actually in an ESS, and I was kind of stealing 50 million ISK or something, and so he went for it. Started killing his drones for explosives damage first. That's a little bit of a damage hole for the VNI. After that, I started tanking and just kept firing, and he was buffer fit, so in the end he went down in a blaze of glory.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. He did actually get me to like half structure or something. It was pretty close.
Oh yeah, those butt clenchers, those are some of the most fun battles that there are in EVE Online, where it's like right down into the hull, like, yes, my ship is on fire.
Oh my, I have a screenshot for that, if I can find it and link it to you.
But yeah, we are coming up here. I want to kind of, unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up a little bit early because we do have another show that we're going to be doing here at about 7 o'clock in about 15 or about 20 minutes or so here. But before we kind of wrap things up here, is there anything specific that that you'd like, any shout outs that you'd like to give, or anything that you'd like to talk about before we wrap things up?
Well, shout out to Amok and all of the guys in Afghanistan who are like hanging around with me and having fun all day, every day. Keep up the good fight. We're gonna push Darby out of here, one way or the other.
Hell yeah, man, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show here, and definitely want to get you back on to kind of get some more stories about some of the stuff that you've been doing. You know, just all the different kind of you know, different solo and you know, small gang PvP kind of stories are always great to hear. So it's really glad to have you onto the show here. And we'll definitely, we're going to be going to doing a Crossing Darkness episode with a storyteller that is going to talk about the World of Darkness coming up on our next episode here. Thank you all for watching here, and definitely check out our website, theageofstories.com. You can get more information on us there. We have links there to all of our friends of the show. And kind of gives you like a breakdown of all the different other projects that we work on, from our tabletop actual plays to the different other episodes that we have for our podcast here. So thank you so much for being on the show here, and everybody have a great night.
Thanks for having me, and have a good one.